It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Harvey, Closer Than Ever, The Common Pursuit, and Cirque Du Soleil. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Good evening. How are you, Leslie?
I'm good, thank you, Charles.
Good. Okay, well, new theater season starting, and our first Broadway show of the year, Harvey with Jim Parsons.
Brand new, old.
Well, this is the first time this show has been revived since Jimmy Stewart did it, something like 40 years ago, something like that.
Right.
And we're waiting for someone who had the nerve to follow Jim Stewart.
True.
And who has more nerve than Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory? Now, the interesting thing is, people who are Big Bang Theory fans will not be disappointed here. And people who are Harvey fans will not be disappointed. But there's this wonderful line where Jim Parsons' character, Elwood P. Dowd, says, "I used to be smart, now I'm pleasant. Pleasant is better." And I thought that was a great thing for someone who played Sheldon to say, because you could easily see Sheldon morphing into Elwood.
Well, I think we ought to talk about what it's about for those few people who've never seen the movie.
Well, this is about a man who kind of marches to the beat of a different drummer and is often very oblivious to his surroundings, not unlike Sheldon.
Well, but he's also an alcoholic.
Well, he drinks a lot.
He's an alcoholic.
Okay.
He's a charming alcoholic.
He drinks a lot, but we never do see him intoxicated.
No, we don't. But that's his choice.
Yes, but he spends a lot of time drinking. But no one cares about that. What upsets his sister and his niece who live with him is that he insists on introducing everybody to his best friend, a 6-foot invisible rabbit named Harvey. Actually, I shouldn't say he's invisible because Elwood can see him.
And he's not just a rabbit, he's a puka.
Yes, which is like a magical creature.
Like a leprechaun.
Well, they are kind of mischievous,
they're
but
listed
again, I don't know any 6 feet
tall leprechauns. No,
actually, I think Harvey is 6 feet 3 inches.
Whatever. On
that. And the situation for his sister is just becoming she just can't take it anymore. And
he also brings people home. And anybody he meets, he invites to the house.
Yes. Well, again, another characteristic that you could see with Sheldon. I mean, he comes up, he says, I'd like you to come over sometime.
We have to leave Sheldon out of this equation. He's not doing Sheldon. He's playing Elwood.
He is, and he's playing it very well.
Yes, and so Sheldon doesn't count. It doesn't. I get very upset about that. He's not part of the character. Rich Summer is not playing his Mad Men character in this either. And Charles Kincaid is not, but that's his name. Is it Charles Kincaid?
No, I don't think so.
Charles Kimbrough is not playing his TV character. They're playing the characters
They are, but what fascinated me about this is how much in common these two characters have, even though on the surface, because Sheldon is aloof, and he's condescending, and he's insulting.
In all likelihood, Sheldon has Asperger's disease. I mean, he is so incapable of social interaction.
And Elwood, on the other hand, again, while living in his own kind of world and not quite realizing his surroundings, is very sweet, very outgoing. And again, but that line where he said, "Once I was smart, now I'm pleasant." That to me.
But Sheldon is not pleasant. Sheldon is anything but pleasant.
Yes, but that was Elwood once.
I don't want to talk about Sheldon anymore. I really would like to talk about the play. There's a fascinating, really good performance in this play by Jessica Hecht. Who is just
as the sister,
yes. Who truly is almost in a different play, because everybody else is so laid back in this play, and she is hysterical.
Yes.
And she's so hysterical that when they get to the home where they're trying to put Elwood in the rehab home, psychiatric whatever,
a privately owned psychiatric center run by Charles Kimbrough's character.
Very strange, odd, almost. Oh golly, when you stuff somebody, what is that called? A taxidermy. He looks like a taxidermy model. He's got, and perhaps there's something wrong with him. I'm not sure, but anyway. In any case,
he's not he won't be recognizable as first.
No, not at all. But he looks like
that
off
stage. If you remember him from Murphy Brown or even from Candide,
and it's funny because she's on stage, and Eric McCormick is on stage. Everybody from television is on stage right now. It's very interesting. But anyway, her performance is really fascinating because it's at odds, speed-wise and every other way, with.
But it works so so beautifully.
Yes, and
she comes out so much from left field.
Well, but then when she gets to the sanitarium, they think it's she that is the person that they're supposed to put away, and they do. They throw her into a cold bath. I mean, it's a horrible experience, and they all fall in love with Elwood. Everybody finds Elwood charming. See, this is a little like Arthur. I don't find alcoholism charming. No matter how charming the alcoholic is, I don't find it charming. And yes, Elwood takes a drink all the time, so he's always got a bottle, and
But Arthur, the difference is Arthur is always noticeably smashed. Elwood holds his liquor.
I agree. He holds his liquor and he sees a 6'3" rabbit.
Well, but as it turns out, so do several other people who are not drinking.
No one sees the rabbit. They see the door open. They see the door closed.
No, we do not see the rabbit.
We do not see the rabbit.
But the sister confesses, and this is one of the reasons they take her away. Sometimes I see him, and then the doctor sees him. So we never actually see Harvey.
All right.
And interesting, Harvey doesn't have a curtain call.
But the curtain call is the best part of the play for me. The curtain call. And we were sitting close enough to see this. This is at Studio 54. The curtain call, somehow they have a chance to get on the set, and there must be 50 or 60 white rabbits on the set. You didn't see that.
I did see that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Some people didn't notice it at all.
I saw
They're
them.
on the staircase, on the mantelpiece, on the floor. Some of them are charming and quaint and doing funny little things, and some of them are just sitting there. None of them are 6'3", but there are dozens and dozens of little white rabbits. I fell off my chair watching that. That to me was the best moment. That's really sad that was the best moment. The play is dated for me. It didn't move the way I would have liked it to. I didn't find him charming enough. He was nice, but he wasn't charming. And unless he's absolutely charming, I have nothing bad to say about it. It wasn't enough somehow. My sister loved it. She loves Jim Parsons. She loves
my
The Big Bang
wife
Theory.
is a big Harvey fan and a big
You mean a big show? Both.
A fan of Harvey and a fan of Big Bang.
Right.
She had a wonderful time. I didn't like it quite as much, but I also had a good time. I did like Jim Parsons' performance. I liked the sister. I'm sorry,
Jessica.
I thought she was absolutely
Hilarious,
fabulous.
Yes. Rich Summer
Carol Kane is also in the show.
Right, and she's very funny. She plays the doctor's wife.
She has a brief appearance, which was all right. Didn't go over as I expected.
Well, I thought it was a nice interaction with Elwood. It was somebody who was very charming with Elwood, and you saw that. You saw how he charmed people.
Absolutely.
And the other thing was Rich Summer, who plays the wisecracking employee of the
sanitarium.
Sanitarium.
Kind of like a glorified bouncer.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I don't know why he's doing that. It's certainly not a large enough part for someone who's a star in a television show. It was interesting. I guess he wanted to do it.
Carol Kane obviously wanted to do it too, because she's had a very
that was a star turn for her. That was a cameo. That was a real cameo. His is just a sort of a journeyman part through the show that he doesn't get anything really.
So
good to do.
your conclusion on the show?
If you mean how many playbills, I would give it. I'll be kind. I'll give it 3. That's my top.
I would go between 3.75 and 4.
Okay.
I had a very lovely time. It's a good play. It's actually had a lot more substance than I remembered.
Okay.
And I like Jim Parsons. I especially like Jessica Hecht in it, and recommend it even if you're a Harvey fan or a Big Bang Theory fan. You will certainly.
Well, I did think she was
have
really
a good evening.
Now, you see, one of the things that's happening here is that's the only Broadway show we're going to talk about tonight, because, as you say, the season is gearing up, but it's only early in the season. So we have a bunch of off-Broadway shows to talk about. We have one that's put on by the Roundabout, but...
Are we talking about that one now?
I thought that's what you said before we were going to do.
No, it wasn't, but okay.
I'm sorry,
since
then do it your way.
Since you have segged us into The Common Pursuit
by
Simon Gray, we shall talk about The Common Pursuit by Simon Gray at the Roundabout.
In their off-Broadway space at the Laura Pels.
In their off-Broadway space at the Laura Pels, in the Harold and Miriam Steinberg Center for Theater. Okay, so
boy, if you can call it that,
I can. They can call it that.
Right.
We want to give Harold and Miriam their money's worth.
Absolutely.
For whatever they
They're
donated to the
lovely
theater.
people. They also give an award for the best play of the year at Louisville every year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, would this play win the award?
Oh, but it's not a new play. This is a revival. This is a revival.
For revivals?
No, not for revivals. No, just for new plays.
Okay, this is a revival. It is about a group of English intellectuals. We see them as students, and Stuart, the ringleader of the group, is starting a new poetry magazine called The Common Pursuit. And we follow them through the years, about 9 years later, I think. I'm sorry, actually, no, I guess the whole thing is close to 30,
yeah,
30 years.
It's longer.
We see them starting the magazine, we see them running the magazine, ending the magazine, and, you know, how they finally end up, their relationships with each other, with, you know, their personal, romantic, business, etc. And then that's essentially the...
Yeah, and The Common Pursuit is a failure. It's never made money. It was never meant to make money, but it's also...
The magazine or the play?
The magazine.
Okay.
Well, frankly, I thought this production was a failure, but that's another whole story.
Okay.
I saw it originally. Nathan Lane was the reason to see it when I saw it the first time.
Who was he, Humphrey? Which one was he, Humphrey?
He was, I don't remember now. No, I don't think he was Humphrey. He was the guy who ran the magazine.
That would be Stewart.
Stewart. He was, I think. Don't
That was probably before he was Nathan Lane.
He was coming into Nathan Lane, but he wasn't Nathan Lane. And also the thing about
and by that we mean you know the persona that we know him.
Yes, I thought people would get that.
Yes.
But see, the thing is, you said that bunch of British students. Well, these accents of these people in this play were all over the place. And this is directed this time by Moises Kaufman. Now, Moises Kaufman has done some extraordinary work. He did the Laramie Project. His company, Tectonic, puts things together and makes plays. He directed Jane Fonda in those 33 Variations. He has a really great series of interesting choices. So I thought, okay, if he's doing this, there must be a reason. Maybe there's a hot new actor in it, you know, I'll discover somebody. And then I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and it was slow, and it didn't come to anything for me. Somebody I know said she sat there so fascinated she almost forgot she was at the theater. And I went, I don't know what she saw, but it certainly wasn't the performance that I saw. I just thought that the characters didn't really interact. I thought the one who's playing Humphrey was kind of interesting because at least he had something to do. But I didn't get the...
That would be Tim McGreever.
Yeah, and it's not great Simon Gray, and Simon Gray was never, quote, a great playwright, but he certainly wrote a couple of other pieces that I think were
better.
Butley and some others like that I think were better than this play. And I thought it was a decent play the first time I saw it, so I don't know who to blame, but I didn't like it.
Okay. I wasn't overwhelmed by it. Certainly, I enjoyed Harvey a lot better, but I did enjoy the give and take with it. And I had a good time. I would give it 3 playbills.
Oh, I won.
Okay.
I really, do I have to give it any?
No.
I would give it none.
Okay.
I do that occasionally.
Yes, I know.
I really consider it a 3 hours or 2.5 hours of my life I will never get back.
In that case, I had a much better time
really.
than you did. I did not see the original production, so it was new to me.
Okay.
And I did enjoy it, but I can understand why when you say, yes, it rises to great heights.
Well, so what I did was I thought since we were talking about plays that were off Broadway, we could go into Closer Than Ever, which is a musical revival, since we're talking about revival.
Yes, and I don't know whether to be depressed that this play came out 30 years ago.
Oh, that you remembered it from 30 years ago, right?
Yeah. This is a play based on the songs of Richard Maltby Jr. and David Shire. They are probably best known for their teamwork on musicals such as Baby or the musical Broadway musical version of Big. Basically, these are shows that songs from shows that we've never seen for the most part. I think there's one song, Patterns, which I know you want to talk about, that was originally supposed to be in Baby, was not taken out of the Broadway production, I think put back in for the cast album, and then ultimately put back in. Most productions do use it. But and there's no dialogue, there's no setup. This is straight music. It's the songs, nothing but the songs. And a cast of 4, 2 men, 2 women, basically singing these songs. And most of them are very enjoyable. A lot of them deal with relationships and reflection.
Well, this is a middle age. This is when Maltby and Shire were turning in middle age. They're older men now, and by middle age we're talking about 40s, mid 40s. We're not talking about middle age is such a relative thing, and they were very recognizable at the time. People were saying, wow, here's a musical, here's a review for all of us, for all of us who are getting older, all of us who have children or don't have children, or, and it was extremely interesting at the time. I think what's happened is I think he did a wonderful job of bringing it to the 21st century. It doesn't creak. For me, it didn't creak when I saw it. I was expecting it to, and it didn't. I think he made it fresh. I think the casting was wonderful. He's got Jen
Cola.
No, that's not. I can't pronounce it.
Colella?
Colella, thank you, Jen Colella from Urban Cowboy, and he's got Sal Viviano, who's been in a lot of shows. A new
Knoll.
Person to me, Christiane Knoll, who was, of course, in Jekyll and Hyde, and Phantom, and then this new fellow to me. I know I've heard the name before, David Dworsky. Is that right? David Dworsky, or is it a different name than
George?
George Dworsky. Sorry, I knew I was
David's evil twin.
Okay, George Dworsky.
Or is David his evil twin?
And George Dworsky is very interesting to me because I don't know whether he did it or not because his picture doesn't have gray hair, but he kind of grayed his hair up. So he may be premature because he has a baby face, but it put everybody. Nobody was a kid in this. They were all older. They obviously either married or parents or whatnot. And the songs reflect that too. The songs, Patterns, the one that we were talking about, reflects that. And I mean, what's interesting to me is that there's one song, for example, called what is it called?
Give me a hint.
What?
Give me a hint.
Fandango. It's called Fandango, and it's two people getting ready to go to work, and it's so right for right now because they're rushing around and they're drinking their coffee. Now, this play was written before social media. It was written at a time when men and women were still finding their way into relationships and how you can have a marriage and children, and this was obviously an upwardly mobile couple, and they're rushing around and they're getting ready to go to work, and it's like take care of the baby, and they both go off stage, and there's a sudden thing, and it's like, oh, we forgot the baby, and it's like, and they come back.
That baby's going to have issues when he gets older.
If the baby remembers, and I thought that was.
I'm sure.
I really liked that number.
To me, my reaction to the show is basically the same as it was 30 years ago. Very enjoyable. Nothing great. Nothing incredibly outstanding, but just a nice, pleasant evening. They give you your money's worth. The show is like 2 hours, 15 minutes with intermission. A couple of songs that stand out basically are the songs that I like the first time around. There's this one that Jen sings, which is called Miss Bird. This is about a very demure, quiet real estate agent who in the office is the quiet, dependable one, and then she gets out of the office and into the field, and she's a good time girl.
Do you know any of these people by any chance?
I certainly wish I knew Miss Bird. I kind of wonder if she has a sister named Robin.
Don't tell. I let you get that one, didn't I?
Another one, You Want to Be My Friend.
Yes.
Which is basically the perfect reaction to someone who's losing, her lover, and he says, well, let's be friends. She's saying, friends, let's see, and she rallies. Basically, what I need is this, and that. I don't need friends.
What you're saying, and what's so interesting to me, is each of these. Again, there's no conversation to get you from one to another. No patter, as it were.
No
but
patterns.
Each of them, no patterns.
Except for the song.
But that's not true because there are patterns, and the patterns are that each of these is a little one-act play. They really are, and that's the best kind of song. They're story songs, and they're all the same story. They're all about what we just discussed.
And that is true, and that can be a problem.
Oh.
Because, you have the same story.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Well, I didn't mean it
more or less, you implied it.
Okay, well,
and you know what? It's a great thought. And even though these are lovely songs, you have a two-piece orchestra. You have the same four people singing. You have songs, by the same composing team covering the same territory, and at certain times it can become a little monotonous.
Well, what about The World Goes Round with, unless you're saying those are different or better songs, I mean, that's the same kind of thing. It's a small orchestra.
Again, yes, and you know what?
Candor
next time I'll comment on that next time we cover The World Goes Round.
It may be coming back.
But this was my impression on it. And interestingly, a couple of things that I notice people are carrying cell phones around in this production, which obviously they didn't do.
Yeah.
But there's this one song, "She Loves Me Not," and there's a man singing it to a woman, and then a woman singing it about a man, and then a man singing it about a man, which originally that was a comic turn. Now I think people will look at it, and they may actually take it a little more seriously.
I think it was very sad. It was very poignant.
In a love
is the word.
triangle.
Yes.
The humor, the attitude, the humor has changed because the attitudes of these things. It's not so surprising to see someone come out and do that anymore.
The one that got me the most was the March of Time, which they treated as a comedy number. But the March of Time is the enemy approaching, and they stand as a group of soldiers almost trying to keep time back, and you can't keep time back. I don't think I just want to go back to that thing. I know I said that, but it wasn't what I meant, and I'd like to elaborate on what I meant. The story is our story. It's the story of getting older. It's the story of what getting older means, and it means many different things. And each of the songs says something different.
Right.
They may be on the same topic, but it doesn't say the same thing. I don't want to say that.
No, but yes and no, because this was one woman reflecting on her life. She was a feminist pioneer, and at the end of the song, she kind of goes back to the husband that the man who left her. Well, we don't know actually how they broke up, but that's what she thinks. Another man who's he's one of the good guys. That's the name of the song. Reflects how he had the opportunity to cheat on his wife and didn't.
Yeah, that was very nice of him.
And
I know what you're saying. So what kind
of a lot of it is reflection.
What kind of playbills would you give?
I would give it 3.5.
3.5. I'd go 4.5. I like this one, see? But it's interesting because I'd like to pick up on what you said about the feminists, and I'd like to move into a couple of these. I wanted to do a really quick thing on a couple of different off-Broadway shows, and one of them is Rapture, Blister, Burn. And Rapture, Blister, Burn, do you know what that's from?
I do not.
It's from a song by Hole, which is about Kurt Cobain, and of course it's Kurt Cobain's lovely widow. You should know who that is, and if you don't, it's Courtney Love. And it says, and I want to quote it right. It says, "Take your rapture, blister, burn. Stand in line. It's not your turn." And I think that that's an extremely interesting point. Here, I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. This is a play with a small cast. It's 4 women of different ages, a professor of a feminist professor, her best friend from years ago who's a wife and mother, a student of hers coming into the class, and her mother. Those are the 4 women. So you got 4 different ages. And it's about where are we in the feminist movement? And this is by Gina Gianfrido, by the way, who was a Pulitzer Prize nominee for a different play. The first act reminded me of nothing more than Warmed Over Wendy Wasserstein. There was a lot of uncommon women and a lot of whatever the name of that other play was.
Interestingly, you mentioned Uncommon Women. The Common Pursuit, in some ways, is like a male answer to Uncommon Women.
Well, you're right. Actually, that's a very good point. And the other one was the Heidi Chronicles. So the first act was...
I love the Heidi Chronicles.
See, I didn't. A lot of men loved the Heidi Chronicles, and as a female, I didn't. I thought it was written for men and not for women. But we could do that another time if you want to. But the second act here was really funny. What happened was the first act was just so overwhelmed with information and whatnot, and she happens to like a lot of things, among them horror movies, and she was naming times of the background of when certain horror movies came to be, and her dates were sort of wrong, and I thought that was, you don't give wrong dates if you give me information. But anyway, the second act recovered from
You researched the horror movies?
No, I happen to know. I mean, there was no mention of Frankenstein or the Invisible Man, the James Whale, which really started the whole horror movie trend in the 30s and came out of the Depression. She was linking horror movies to the rise of feminism, saying that it was the women's movement in the 60s that brought in horror movies. It brought in sci-fi movies, but that's not where sci-fi movies mostly came from. The blacklist and the fear of communism really is what they came from. I mean, I did my film history courses too, so it depends on what I guess if I didn't take feminist film courses, I didn't. So maybe that's what they're teaching in feminist film courses. I don't know. But
I will tell you it's a connection I certainly never made.
Well, it's not one that I ever made either. But I will go for what the slasher films came from.
Was Barbarella a feminist film?
I don't know. Barbarella was not mentioned, so it's interesting. No, I seriously doubt that Barbarella was a feminist film, although Jane Fonda will tell you it was. It's one of my favorite films. But it's interesting because I don't want to spend that much time on this one because we're going to talk about a few others. But I did want to say that the second act kind of saved it, and Gianfrido's she's a sharp critic as well as a good writer, and it's all about, can women have it all, or can't they? And she herself is a wife and mother, and I'm not sure if she's wife.
The answer is there are going to be compromises.
Well,
and
that's basically what this is about.
Right.
And
the answer is no, you can't have it all. Something will get lost in the sauce.
But here's what's interesting too. Here's a play from the 1940s, 1944 to be precise, Love Goes to Press, by Martha Gellhorn, who, among other things, not only was a war correspondent, but was the wife of Ernest Hemingway. And that Gellhorn and Hemingway film at HBO is about the two of them. And she wrote this play, which was not a success in 1944, but is at one of our favorite little theaters, the Mint. You, Jonathan, came and talked to us.
Sure.
And this is a charming little film about women having it all, because there they are, they're war correspondents, they're out in the field, the men are making fun of them, the men don't know what to do with them, and they, move along and get things done and take care of what's supposed to happen and get the interviews they're supposed to get. And this is a charming production, and it's directed by somebody named Jerry Ruiz, a brand new director who was an assistant director on a couple of other shows. Really top-notch, the fast-moving, quick kind of dialogue that's really good to see, and it's at the Mint and it's still playing.
So I did want to talk about Cirque Du Soleil, which I saw at Radio City Music Hall.
Okay.
And it's the antithesis of an off-Broadway show because it is huge, and what differentiates Cirque du Soleil is it's loud. They have this music blaring through the whole thing. There's no real ringmaster per se. I mean, there is, but not in the traditional sense. The acts just come and they go, and you have traditional circus acts with the exception of animals, no animal acts. You have a very talented trapeze company, which instead of throwing people down, they throw people up to be caught. A very talented gymnast who's on the bar doing all these flips.
Aren't they all the same, these shows, though?
They
give them the different titles.
A lot of circuses are basically doing the same stuff, but it's how they do it. It's the presentation. I mean,
so what is this one? How is this one different from other ones?
Well, from other Cirque du Soleil,
yeah,
it's probably very similar, I guess, in the choice of the music and the choice of the in the way the acts are presented. But again, a circus is a circus. So I can't say, how is it different from the Big Apple Circus? Well, Radio City Musical is a lot
Big Apple Circus.
A lot bigger than their tent, and again, there's really no ringmaster per se.
Big Apple Circus is a lot about the clowns. I mean, that's...
Well, they have clowns here too, and they get time to do their shtick. So there are definitely clowns. Again, it's everything you would see in a circus except animals, and I had a very good time. Again, a little loud for my taste at times, but just a lot of fun because I like the circus.
Right, but it's not theater per se, or it is theater. I'm asking.
I would say it's more circus. It's theatrical, but the circus. It's theatrical as a circus is theatrical.
Right.
It's it's a certain style that we associate with Cirque du Soleil, as opposed to say Ringling Brothers or other circuses.
Right.
They have their own unique way of presenting
a lot of gymnastic
and
stuff
yes,
and whatnot.
and that is what makes it stand out. And people appearing all over the stage and on top.
So you'd give it how
it's
many
their
playbills?
stage. I would give it. I would say three and a half. And again, it's do you like this style? And I had a very nice time because I like the circus.
So we're going to be doing a lot more probably off-Broadway stuff until the season gears up.
And when you go to the off-Broadway theaters, look for us too.
On the aisle.